Sophia Levine, worth millions from her jewelry empire, quietly sipped coffee in a modest cafe. Her doctor had ordered rest after her recent collapse from severe hypertension. When a friendly waitress mentioned studying jewelry design, Sophia took interest. As the young woman turned to leave, a hidden necklace swung into view. The pendant hanging from the chain made Sophia's hands begin to tremble uncontrollably. If you'd like to hear more stories like this one, consider subscribing and turning on notifications. The morning light filtered through the cafe windows as Sophia Levine sat alone at her corner table. At 70 years old, her elegant posture and keen eyes revealed little of the empire she had built from nothing. Most patrons had no idea they were sharing space with a woman whose creations adorned the necks and wrists of celebrities and royalty worldwide. Sophia absently stirred her coffee, watching the small whirlpool form in the center of her cup. The Levine brand represented luxury and innovation, but few knew the woman behind the name preferred these quiet moments in anonymous places. Despite numerous suitors throughout her life, she had remained unmarried, channeling all her passion into her designs instead. Just 3 days earlier, Sophia had been standing at a podium, presenting her newest collection to buyers when the room began to spin. She had gripped the edges of the wooden stand, trying to steady herself as her vision blurred. The next thing she remembered was waking up in a hospital bed with concerned faces hovering above her. The diagnosis had been clear: severe hypertension and exhaustion. Her body was sending warning signals she could no longer ignore. For decades, she had pushed herself relentlessly, often working 18-hour days and sleeping in her office during fashion weeks and major launches. It had taken Thomas, her nephew, and the company's CFO to finally convince her to step away. During a conference call with international investors, sharp chest pains had forced her to mute herself while she gasped for air. Thomas had witnessed the episode and immediately ended the call. That evening, he made her promise to take time off, assuring her the company wouldn't collapse without her constant supervision. Burlington, Vermont was not a random choice for her retreat. The small New England town held memories from another lifetime. The cafe itself had changed hands many times over the decades, but the bones of the building remained the same as they had been 50 years ago when Sophia was just a passionate student at the Burlington School of Design. Sophia closed her eyes, allowing the memories to wash over her. She could almost hear the laughter echoing through the dormitory halls. Feel the excitement as she and Elizabeth stayed up all night sketching designs by candlelight when the power went out during a winter storm. Elizabeth Palmer had been more than just a roommate. She had been Sophia's creative soulmate. Together, they had spent weekends exploring the nearby riverbanks, collecting unusual stones, and dreaming of the day they would open their own studio. They had made matching pendants as a symbol of their friendship and shared dreams. Delicate silver branches intertwined around small blue stones they had found during one of their expeditions. But then came that terrible day. Sophia had returned from a weekend visiting her parents to find Elizabeth's side of the room completely empty. All that remained was a hastily written note explaining that her father had received a job transfer and the family had to move immediately. There was no forwarding address, no way to maintain contact in the days before social media and cell phones. The loss had devastated Sophia, but also fueled her determination. She channeled her grief into her work, developing the distinctive style that would eventually make her famous. As her business grew, she had hired private investigators to find Elizabeth, but it was as if her friend had vanished completely. Sophia's signature bluestone collection, inspired by those early creations with Elizabeth, had become her most recognized work. The pieces were coveted by collectors worldwide, each one containing a small piece of the friendship that had shaped her life. The cafe had filled with the lunch crowd, the quiet morning atmosphere giving way to bustling activity. Sophia's coffee had grown cold while she was lost in memories. She signaled for a refill, and a young waitress with bright eyes approached her table with a carafe. While pouring the fresh coffee, the waitress introduced herself as Maya. She apologized for the wait, explaining that she was working part-time at the cafe while studying at the local college. When Sophia politely asked about her studies, Maya's face lit up as she shared that she was majoring in jewelry design. Sophia's interest was immediately piqued. She asked about Maya's inspirations and techniques, impressed by the young woman's passionate and knowledgeable responses. There was something familiar about Maya's enthusiasm, something that reminded Sophia of herself at that age and of Elizabeth. Before Maya left to attend to other customers, Sophia asked for her contact information. She explained that her company offered internships to promising designers, carefully avoiding revealing her own identity. She simply mentioned that she had connections in the industry that might be helpful to a student. Maya was about to walk away when she paused, studying Sophia's face more carefully. A look of recognition crossed her features as she mentioned that Sophia looked familiar. Her grandmother had kept old newspaper clippings about successful jewelry designers, and Sophia Levine had featured prominently in her collection. Was this really the famous designer her grandmother had admired for decades? Maya seemed both excited and uncertain, not wanting to make a presumption. She added that her grandmother had always admired Sophia's work, particularly her bluestone collection, though she never mentioned knowing Sophia personally. Sophia neither confirmed nor denied her identity, giving only a polite smile in response. She had grown accustomed to protecting her privacy, especially during these rare moments of solitude. As Maya turned to leave after this revelation, she moved quickly to respond to another customer's call. The sudden movement caused her to stumble slightly, and the necklace that had been tucked beneath her uniform swung forward into view. The world seemed to stop. There, hanging around the waitress's neck, was a pendant that Sophia had not seen in 50 years, but would recognize anywhere. The delicate silver branches intertwined around a small blue stone, an exact match to the one she kept locked in a special case in her private studio. Sophia's hands began to tremble uncontrollably as tears welled in her eyes. The pendant was unmistakable. Not a reproduction or a similar design, but the exact piece she had crafted alongside Elizabeth all those years ago. It was too unique, too personal to be a coincidence. Maya noticed Sophia's sudden distress and quickly returned to her table, concerned. When Sophia pointed to the necklace with shaking fingers, Maya gently touched the pendant and explained it had belonged to her grandmother, who had recently passed away. It was her most treasured possession, and she wore it every day as a way to keep her grandmother's memory close. With a voice barely above a whisper, Sophia asked Maya her grandmother's name. The café seemed to fall silent around them as Maya answered. Elizabeth Palmer. The name hit Sophia like a physical force. Tears flowed freely down her face now, decades of wondering and searching culminating in this unexpected moment. Maya, concerned and confused by the older woman's reaction, showed Sophia a photo on her phone. An elderly Elizabeth with the same bright eyes and warm smile that Sophia had loved so many years ago. Through tears, Sophia revealed the truth. Elizabeth had been her dearest friend during college, her creative partner, and the person who had inspired her most famous designs. The pendant Maya wore was one of a matching pair they had made together when they were students, dreaming of changing the jewelry world. Maya's eyes widened as the pieces fell into place. She explained that her grandmother had kept every newspaper clipping about Sophia's success and had always told stories about the brilliant friend who changed her life. Though Elizabeth had married and devoted herself to family life after moving away, she had secretly maintained her passion for jewelry design throughout her life, teaching Maya everything she knew. As they sat together in the busy cafe, Maya shared stories of her grandmother, how Elizabeth had created a small workshop in their basement where she taught Maya to work with silver and stones, how she would point out Levine designs in store windows with a special gleam in her eye. Elizabeth had never reached out to Sophia, believing her old friend was too successful and busy to remember their brief time together. Sophia learned that Elizabeth had passed away just 3 months earlier. Despite the pain of knowing she had missed the chance to reconnect with her friend, there was also a sense of completion in meeting Maya, the living legacy of Elizabeth's creativity and passion. Before leaving the cafe, Sophia told Maya about the Levine Design Scholarship Program for promising young jewelry designers and promised to personally nominate her. She also mentioned there would be a position waiting for Maya at her company after graduation if she was interested. As she wrote down her private contact information, Sophia thought about how Elizabeth had always believed in nurturing new talent. This opportunity would be, in a way, from both of them, a continuation of the partnership that had begun 50 years ago with 2 young women collecting stones by a riverbed. That evening, as Sophia sat in her hotel room looking out at the Vermont sunset, she held her own pendant in her hands. For the first time in years, the empty space in her life felt somehow less vast. She had found a connection to Elizabeth again, a chance to honor their shared dreams through Maya's future. Sometimes the most precious gems are not the ones that adorn our jewelry, but the connections we forge with those who truly see us. And what would you do if you unexpectedly found a piece of your past that you thought was lost forever?